Just as far as order goes, if you could take the COC for 122 Richardson in the beginning, that would be great.
Okay, sounds good. I don't see Sue.
I don't see Sue populating in. I will try to work with her, but if you'd like, it looks like we do have a quorum if you'd like to start the meeting up.
Oh, we do. That's true. Okay, great. All right. So my name is Peter Olkers. I'm the vice chair of Needham Conservation Commission. I'd like to open this meeting of May 12th, 2022. Before I begin, I need to do what looks like we may not need to do during July, but we still need to do. So this is the script for remotely conducted open meetings. As a preliminary matter, this is Peter Olkers, Conservation Commission Vice Chair. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Stephen?
Aye.
Allison?
Aye.
Artie?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Steph, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Debbie?
Here.
Clay?
Here,
And then I think the practice has been recently that we will check in with the anticipated speakers when their turn comes in the agenda. Good evening. This open meeting of the Town of Needham Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Needham Conservation Commission is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. The general public is allowed and encouraged to ask questions during the meeting when directed by the commission chair and through the use of the raise hand feature associated with the Zoom meeting app. Those who have questions or comments regarding a particular hearing will be called upon in the order they raise their hand, so please be patient. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this body and are available on the Conservation Commission website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each hearing on the agenda. I'll introduce the applicant and/or their consultant to begin their project presentation. After they conclude their presentation, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. And please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you. And please state your name before speaking. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. All right, so now we turn to the agenda. And I'm sorry, Deb, you wanted to do the COC for Richardson Drive?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll begin by opening the hearing for 122 Richardson Drive, DEP file number 2348-784, request for certificate of compliance. Who is here to
Okay.
represent that?
So the owner is here, Ashraf.
Hi.
Ashra, can you introduce yourself and tell us about what you've done?
Sure. This is Ashraf Slamadine. I live at 122 Richardson Drive, and As of the last meeting in the fall, and that was kind of after Clay's visit out to the property, we had noticed that there were some deviations from the original order of conditions, which involved reclaiming some lawn. And the plantings that were proposed were also planted in, actually based on an old plan. I think that was the deviation there. And so Clay had inspected the area and found that Asiatic bittersweet was kind of rampant, really near the outlet of that drain pipe, kind of creating these wetlands. And so the commission kindly was okay with taking care and treating the bittersweet with removal and application of herbicide in lieu of, reclamation of the lawn. And moving the plantings or doing any additional plantings. And so since that time, John Rockwood, who's been kind of involved with the project, came out again, I want to say within the last few weeks, and was able to look at kind of how much of the plantings has survived. I think it was 80-something% was in the letter. And he felt that the Asiatic bittersweet was treated this one time was treated well, and he also I think in his letter had proposed a plan of retreatment or an evaluation, I think 2 years later, and then another 2 years after that, with the recommendation to share the findings of the treatment with the commission, and then also Artie of Cheney Engineering brought out his land surveyor and engineer, and so we finally were able to do the as-built. I mean, this is I think, I don't know, 3 years since because we got our CO back in June of 2019. So they were able to do the final as-built, and he basically summarized his findings, any kind of deviations in a letter along with as-built. And I think that's mainly it.
Excellent, thank you. Deb or Clay, do you have anything to add?
So I went out to the site and everything looks good. The bittersweet has been cut and treated. So he's looking forward to continuing that, as he mentioned, with John Rockwood's guidance. So the deviations, there were 5 deviations noted by Artie Rappy. One of them was the lawn that he was talking about, the expansion of the lawn. But in lieu of reclaiming the lawn, he is doing the bittersweet treatment. When I was there, I noticed a lot of garlic mustard has kind of taken over the area. So I pointed that out as well, and advised him that he could hand pull that when he saw that. The pervious patio shape was changed slightly. It's not any closer to the wetlands than proposed. The retaining wall, that was fine. So the drain outlet pipes connect to foundation drain outlet pipe. So I'm not sure if that is an issue or a deviation, but that was pointed out by Artie. So in John Rockwood's letter, there was, over 75% survival of the plantings. So Artie, I see that you have appeared.
Yes, I'm here.
Do you want to say anything?
Sure. The only item that you might need some clarification would be what I was trying to say regarding the drainage pipes. On the plan that we got Conservation Commission to approve, we were showing that we were going to have one 4-inch PVC pipe that was going to be the foundation drain, and then was going to be a second PVC pipe that was going to be the overflow for the drainage system, so that the two of them, they were not together. The idea being that if it is because of leaves or debris or whatever, you had the pipe clogged for the drainage system, it wouldn't impact the foundation drain for the main of the house. It was decided by the builder and the homeowner that, you know what, it's overkill. Why spend the money to have two pipes? It's better to have only one. So they ended up combining the overflow from the drainage system and the pipe from the foundation. They merge, and there is only one pipe leading to the outlet. So there is one outlet instead of two. That's what I was trying to point out. I don't
Okay.
think it will have an impact, but that's the only, what we were trying to say.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So I would suggest approving the certificate of compliance.
Very good. I'll go around and ask the commissioners. Stephen, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Allison? Artie?
Oh,
Sue?
No comment.
Very good. All right, so I suppose I could take a motion to issue the certificate of compliance.
I move that we issue the certificate of compliance for 122 Richardson
second,
Drive.
second,
Artie seconds. All in favor. Stephen?
Aye.
Artie?
aye,
Allison?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Peter? Aye. Very good. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, so we have a couple of notice of intent hearings, one of which was continued, and then we have some more minor business. Do you have any suggestions for what we should take up next?
Just trying to see who's here. So Rafe and Rob Olson are here, so maybe we should go with the Greendale Ave.
Sounds very good. Okay, so I'd like to open a hearing for 1191 Greendale Avenue, DEP file, and there is a file number. Do you have it? It's not on the agenda.
Yeah, it was issued today. It's 234-888.
888. So this would be DEP file number 234888. This is a continued notice of intent. And Rafe is here. And I'm sorry, Robert Olson is here to continue our discussion.
Yeah, so where we left last time, there was there wasn't really much outstanding. Pretty much most of the work was covered. There was just one question about public access. They have spoken to the school, and it's not in the interest of the school to provide public access for a couple of reasons. The first is not having gone through to address that liability and safety concern, both for the public members and for students of the campus. The other is that the design of this walkway has not been particularly robust. It's meant for light use. So opening it up to heavier use would probably require greater engineering of that footpath to prevent erosion. So at this time, they're not looking to make it public access.
Very good. So it's private property. They have the right to do what they need to do with it. And it was a request that was made, and this is what their response was. So any other thoughts?
As far as staff was concerned and what was discussed at the last meeting, I think that really it was the DEP file number was the primary reason
Okay.
for continuing. So we're satisfied on a staff level with the information provided.
Okay, so let me just run around the commissioners to see if they have comments or questions. Stephen?
No comment.
Allison?
No comments.
Artie?
no comment,
Sue?
No comment.
So you're all okay with the idea that St. Sebastian's has the right not to provide access to the public? Okay, so be it. Are we ready to close the hearing then?
We close the hearing for 1191 Greendale Ave.
I second.
All in favor, Stephen,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Peter, aye. So we've closed that, and I believe there's an exhibit waiting for us to talk about at the end of the meeting. All right, very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rafe. Robert. All right. So recommendations for next.
We might as well go ahead and do Southfield Court.
Okay, so and we don't need to do the COC first. That's an independent from this notice of intent.
If you wanted to do the COC first.
It might provide some context for what they're asking to do in the
Mhm.
latest treatment. So let
Right.
me actually go and open the hearing on 0 and 11 Southfield Court and 9 Southwood Lane, Southfield Court Pond Treatments, DEP file number 234795, request for certificate of compliance. Who's here to represent? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
My apologies, I was on mute. Yeah, I'm Sean McCarthy. I'm with Solitude Lake Management, and I'll be answering your questions tonight.
Very good. All right, so we're starting with the certificate of compliance, and that's a long document with a lot of reports included. Can you summarize your request?
Sure. We've actually treated this pond a few times since 2017. We do a treatment, we come back and look. There have been years in there that we've skipped. Some of that's before my time being involved with Solitude, but I think in that time period, there was at least 2 years where we came back and said, treatment worked just fine, not needed this year. So basically what we do have right now and why they wanted to re-engage is there is duckweed, filamentous algae, and some cattails in the growing in the pond. Duckweed, tiny free-floating aquatic plants, they can be very troublesome because they about the size of a fingernail, and they just grow and can cover the whole top of the surface. Obviously that's in the best interest of the pond to treat those because it can affect wildlife, it can affect other plants.
Good.
Fish can die, that sort of thing.
Can
So-
we just hold on? So I wanted to deal with the past first, and then we'll talk about the future. But you've been treating periodically with herbicides and algicides, is that right?
Yes,
So that's been part of sort of the standard treatment. Some years needed it more than others.
correct.
And so this has been done since what, 2017?
2017, yes.
Okay. Clay and Deb, any comments?
Not as far as the COC goes.
Questions of commissioners? Stephen?
No comment.
Artie?
The only question, and my apologies if I missed this as part of it, and I greatly apologize if I missed this as part of it. And that is what was talked about as far as the irrigation of the water itself, the aeration of the water.
Right, was there an aerator installed at some point in that pond?
There may have been, again, let me check one thing quickly.
No, there was definitely an aerator in there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't have that as part of my current proposal.
I know
There has been
they
in the
would take
past.
it out for the winter, I
Yeah.
think.
It's been non-operational for a while, and that's been one of the problems with the pond.
Mhm.
And I don't know why that hasn't been fixed.
Right.
So
I don't have any record of that. There are some property owners who choose to put their own aeration system in. And if we weren't part of it, then I would not know about that. In the current proposal, I don't see aeration. I haven't gone back through the entire history to see if it was installed in 2017. So I'm going to have to, get back to you on that, I guess.
Deb, do you see any problems with that?
With having
With-
it or not having it?
With either, or with the residents putting their own in?
Yeah, that's the first I've heard about the residents. I
I-
believe it.
Yeah,
I, like I said,
is.
I don't know if they did or not.
No, I've not.
If you saw an aerator in there, I'm not able to speak to that tonight because that's not part of my proposal.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. No,
Yeah.
I have a friend who lives on it. I
Yeah.
have two people that live on it. And there was a fairly, so I guess it's
Oh.
a substantial area in there. And it has not been functional for a while, which is going to be one of the problems with the pond itself. And I know that I understand that's not part of what you're dealing with yourself, but now I have a concern that
Yeah.
it wasn't.
So
there,
the
it's not
front
there.
page of the COC talks about the management activities. In 2017, November 15th, on your report, it says that a fountain was removed from the pond for winter storage. Is that the aerator?
Aerator and a fountain are technically two different things. They may look alike to some people. An aerator usually is detectable on the surface, but it does not spray up the way that a fountain does.
But it has the
And-
same function.
It does, yeah. The aerator usually puts a little bit more bubbles, and we have a few different types. The one we tend to use is microscopic bubbles that goes in there
So,
and
so,
helps break things up.
So it's on your report from Solitude about that. So it was used previously.
Okay,
So I don't know if. Yeah, and then there's the fountain was serviced 2018. Service fountain and lake inspection 2019. Fountain installed 2020. So up until 2020, apparently that fountain has been serviced and installed and
I don't-
removed.
yeah, I don't, as the last I knew it was from the friends on it, it was not right now. I don't know why.
Mhm.
I know.
my apologies for not knowing the history back that far. I've been on with the company about maybe 8 months now. So, I mean, I can find out more information on that if you would like.
Yeah, it might be a useful part of our discussions when we talk about the notice of intent.
Mhm.
But for now, I mean, all that is documented in the report. Artie, any other questions?
No, that's it. Just a concern that the health of the water comes back into place, so we don't have to keep doing what's looking to be done right now, because that was part of the management, and it seems
Yeah.
to be missing that.
So let me ask you something. In some places, once you get an aerator or a fountain approved, there is not necessarily a need to have it reapproved every year because it basically is doing the same thing all the time.
Mhm.
So if I was to go back in the notes and find out what's going on with the fountain / aerator, would there be any problem with reinstalling it, whether it's a replacement one or whatever?
I don't see any, I personally don't see anything myself. Deb, I mean, you guys, I mean, it's been there, it's been functional.
I know, I mean, if there's more information on if, other people are putting their own aerators in there, I think we
Know
would
that.
probably want to know about that.
Okay.
But I would probably just add it to the management. It's, it's
Sure.
a management feature, so why not add it to it?
Very good. Allison, any questions?
I'll check
Sue?
into that and I will let you know, whether it's going back in or not, just so that you're aware of it.
Thank
you.
As of this point, I don't know if it's something that the condo group wants or not, but I will check with them.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sue, any questions?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, so the first thing we need to do is issue the COC, which looks like staff is recommending.
That we issue the certificate of compliance for 0 to 11 Southfield Court. I'm not sure about the other addresses.
Second,
All in favor, Stephen,
Aye.
Artie?
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Peter, aye. So we've issued this COC. Okay, so now we'll turn to the notice of intent. So I want to open the hearing for 0 and 11 Southfield Court and 9 Southwood Lane, Southfield Court Pond Treatments, DPFI and Lumber, 234887, notice of intent. All right, so you began to describe before, but could you remind us what the new situation is that requires a different, sort of a change in the plan?
Sure, there's, well, the growth has come back, and we, use a variety of chemicals that are registered with the state and allowed by the state and allowed by the EPA. So we tend to only switch if we come across something that is considered more effective, less impact, et cetera. So we're currently for the duckweed, the thing that we recommend is flumioxen. We call it Flumi. It's easier to pronounce. That's I can give you the EPA number. It's actually in the documentation. But it's the only contact herbicide that's approved for control of duckweed right now in Massachusetts. So we would put that in the water. It's, we can, again, we dilute it to the way it's recommended on the label, and it is distributed subsurface. And there is no limit. There's no limit to taking water, no limit to watering from it, et cetera. Basically, there's no storm water runoff that we need to worry about, et cetera. We always, for everything we put in, we suggest that people stay out of the water for one day. That is just our blanket statement for just about everything we use. But again, there's nothing particular in this Flumi that we worry about. For algicides, we use two products. There's algae in the pond too, besides duckweed. We use Captain and Sea Clear. They are both copper-based treatments. And again, when you think of copper, well, your water pipes are copper. Copper is a very common element all around the world and found in most water. So again, there is no limit on the use of copper. Copper just helps break down algae when it gets in contact with it. So again, there's no limits on that, but we always, say stay out of the water for one day after that. Peroxide is another one. And the reason we put these both on here, chances are we're going to use the copper one. We also add the peroxide one just because some types of algae react a little bit better to that. And we just want to have both of them on the list. We use Green Clear Pro and Green Clear Liquid. And those, same thing, they bring in peroxide, you clean wounds with peroxide, et cetera. So it's not really dangerous to humans in order to use it. So that's, another one that we have. And then the final one is for water lilies, because water lilies can, once they form, can actually fill in a pond. If you ever seen them, the stalks are pretty wide. They almost look like mini giraffe necks, about the size of your arm. And they grow, and every year when they die, they build up and they build up and they build up. In fact, the buildup of that can help, as it breaks down, can help feed things like algae and duckweed. So it's kind of a cycle. So the glyphosate, I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but the term is, the brand name is AquaPro, and that's used to treat the water lilies. And the same thing is we put it in the water and it dissipates. And again, there's no specific limits on public or private water supply. It's considered neutral for its impact on that. And those are the three that we anticipate putting in. The water lily treatment would be far later in the year. The algae treatment would be when we see algae starting to appear. And the duckweed is the same thing. The duckweed floats on the surface. We would treat that again. In general, it would be algae, duckweed, and then later in the year for the water lilies. And that's the plan.
And cattails?
Oh, the cattails too, yes.
And that's also that's also the
yeah, the same. So do the same thing. We like them to grow to a certain size, which is usually almost full size. You want all those absorb and pass the treatment down to their roots, and that's because they spread by, rhizomes. So you want the cattails to grow a little bit in order to treat them.
Are you planning to kill all of the lilies and cattails?
My plan right at the moment is to do most of them. Most ponds that we have, they like to have a few for aesthetic reasons, believe it or not. We're more likely to try to eliminate all of the cattails unless told not to. Water lilies, I would talk with the owner. Some people like the charm of them and a few flowers here and there. So my intention would be to leave it up to them. I will leave it at that. Just too many water lilies become a big problem quickly.
And this pond is isolated, right? It's not connected to any other water source?
I believe there's a small stream that goes in. When I'm looking at the map right now, I see.
So the stream feeds it, but it doesn't.
Yeah, but it's a trickle.
It doesn't leave it to any.
Yeah, it's a tiny trickle.
And what else? So do you have a sense of what's currently living in there? Not vegetation, but animal life, fish and
I was
invertebrates
told
and-
that there were fish there. Yeah, but small. You're talking sunfish,
right.
minnows.
Frogs?
I'm sure there's frogs.
All right. So what these things are technically poison to fish and frogs, right?
We
But-
don't tend to see them affect the fish and frogs, no. And again, if you look at the narrative that we put in, that's from the testing and the approval from EPA. I don't like to use the word approval. They don't approve them, but they say they do testing and they say that this is allowed. And so there are no warnings about fish or frogs.
Well, actually, if you look at closely, in fact, direct contact,
Direct.
it's-
Well, that's at a
it's-
full strength, right?
Yeah. So, but this tends to break down pretty quickly, and so you don't have to worry
Yes.
so much about it. So, what else was I thinking? Oh, I know. So there was mention in one part, and I don't know if this was an error. In the letter to the abutters, it mentioned hydro raking. Was that something?
That is a separate project from what I am talking about here. Hang on one second. Let me make sure. Matter of fact, we talked about not doing it. I think the condo owners may be considering that, but as far as I know, it's not for this year. At a certain point, when there's a lot of buildup and the buildup on the bottom starts to rot, as it does at the bottom of all ponds, that rot and breakdown can actually start feeding the things like algae and the duckweed, etc. But yeah, I'm not here to talk about hydro raking. I don't think that has been something that has been seriously talked about. In fact, let me look at I don't see any mention of that. I'm looking in our little database here of stuff. I think that is simply a discussion, a what if at this point, and has not been officially proposed. So
Okay.
no, I'm
But
not here to talk about that.
I think it's
I don't know why
important-
that was included in the notice to the
It-
abutters.
I think, yeah, I mean, so it wasn't included in any other information.
Yeah.
Just mentioned in the beginning that you were looking for permission for it. And
So my
so,
apology, our apology for that, that I think that was very premature.
very good. Yeah. And rest assured, there's plenty of conditions that we'll expect if there's any request for.
Oh, yeah.
hydro
On those
raking.
ponds, when we do it, we make sure that anything that's going up to the pond is driving over plywood, things like that, so that there's no damage to the shoreline or lawns.
And you have
and that.
to, you also have to make sure what happens to the stuff.
Oh, yeah,
when
that's
you-
it.
when you
That's a
haul it
big deal.
out,
Yeah,
exactly.
we don't just, leave it.
Yes, well,
You
good
should
for
look
you.
back in your records, apparently. Yes.
You know what? I will. That's interesting.
Yeah, you really should.
Are we talking about a project over near the Wellesley end?
Mm,
Yeah, a
just
certain
maybe.
pond where stuff was left just
Yeah.
to sit on the banks. Yeah.
Oh,
Can
Sabrina
we say
Pond there? Is that-
violations and enforcement orders?
Was that, I
Interesting.
think you're talking about Sabrina Pond. Yeah, there was, I don't know, that again, that was before my time, but there was an issue there about somebody didn't pay their bill. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, we will, we don't need to talk about it now. We'll,
Yeah, I know.
if the issue raises, we can
Yeah,
come
yeah,
back.
yeah.
All right, so Deborah Clay, do you have any other comments?
I don't think so. Perhaps Allison and Sue might have.
I'll go around and ask the commissioners. Stephen, any questions, comments?
No comments. Thank you.
Artie?
I guess I already made the comments. I don't have enough experience, I guess I'd say, to say what the best course of action and continuing best course of action in the future is. I mean, it's always nice if we don't keep putting chemicals in the ponds. I don't know how many, Deb, how many times, if any, has this occurred in the past for this pond? Yeah,
I mean, the report documents every time they've made applications, and it's almost every year.
Yeah, I think I think out of the last 5 years, it's been 3 times, but there was 1 year we may have done a spot treatment, so that might be just a small area.
Anyway, it would be, I mean, it would be good if there was some way to minimize this going forward. And I just raised the point again about, I used the word aeration, my apologies. I used the word fountains, it was aeration, my apologies for the
yeah. So again, I've got that as an action item to come back on that. Yeah.
Anyway, that's all.
Yeah, if that's going to be part of the
Be
plan,
nice.
actually going
Be
forward.
nice to try to.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the problem in suburban environments is that you have people fertilizing their lawns, and you have ducks who visit, and excrement and things like that when they pour into the pond.
Yeah.
Create a problem. And I realize that's nature, but there's a cost of doing nothing.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm gonna step in for a second.
I know where this is going.
Yeah. I'm gonna step in because this is us talking right now. So it was a good comment about the fertilizer though, because I don't know, again, it's nice to protect what's going on there. And I don't know what we can or can't do. My guess is the neighbors probably do a pretty good job because they care about this water probably as much as we do. And so I don't know what the reasons for everything going on. The fact is it's not a super fluid pond with a lot of coming in, a lot of going out is not going to make it, not going to keep it healthy by itself without some type of intervention probably. Anyway, that's all I have to say. That's it.
Yes, it would be nice if the neighbors took fertilization into account as part of the process. Allison.
Yeah, I mean, this whole issue, I mean, I used to have a pond, and I understand all the issues of a small pond that's not that deep. It has grass going into it, right up to it, and the birds and everything bring all the little seeds in their feet, and the cattails grow, and the bad stuff grows, and the duckweed grows, and the algae grows, and and all this fills up the pond. And really, the issue is, if you want a pond that to have open water that's small and not that deep and doesn't have a good flushing and has lawns going down to it, you are going to have to do this for the rest of the pond's life. You're going to have to poison it every year or every other year. And I just wish that there was a more sustained, really what it wants to be is wetland. It doesn't want to be a pond. And the thing is that the idea of killing all, I know you said you might leave some, lilies and some cattails. And the thing is that the lilies and the cattails, if they don't take over the whole pond, when they grow, they pull the nitrogen out of the pond and they clean it, and literally clean it up. They also shade it. I know they die, and then there's an issue with the dying, and rotting, and then that's a problem. But it makes a habitat for turtles and dragonflies and birds and all kinds of things. So to poison it all is, I have a problem with it. And I think that there should be a longer term solution than every year coming back and asking to poison it every single year. And glyphosate, you should not apply directly. You have to put some.
It's diluted. What we suggest, a bare bottom pond is not healthy.
I'm gonna
We
step in.
definitely-
Excuse me, Peter, forgive me. I'm gonna step in and I'm gonna ask that, with all due respect, that Sean, let us, until something's directed to you as a
Okay.
question,
Sure.
please let us talk. So my apologies, Peter, I didn't mean to overstep, but Allison, you were talking and still had comments.
Well, I'm almost done. I just wish there was a more longer term, bigger vision for this pond that not only satisfies the neighbors and aesthetics, but also that is sustainable. And I do not feel that this is sustainable. And so I think that there's a modest amount of poison, the copper stuff, and a little cryptophosphate, as long as you paint it and you do it at the right time and you don't get it in the water, you have to put something on it so it doesn't get in the water. Like there's a surfactant you have to put with it. You can't just use Roundup. That's cryptophosphate. Well, you said glyphosate, that's Roundup. So you have to put a surfactant with it so it doesn't get in the water and kill the frogs, because it does kill the frogs. So you have I'm just saying, if there's just a little bit more moderation, a little bit bigger picture, maybe do some hand removal, not just blanket 4 or 5 different pesticides. And also at the same time, rally the neighbors so that there can be a longer term, more sustainable solution than coming back to Concom every year and asking for 5 poisons. I can't, it just drives me bananas. I don't think it's sustainable, and it's not really healthy. And to say it doesn't hurt wildlife to, blanket it. I don't think it should probably be a pond if you have to do this every year. You should just let it become a wetland. But that's, I'm a conservation commissioner, so I'm not a resident, and I don't want to be, I don't want to change what's been beautiful for many years. But I do worry about it. I worry about it. I do. That's it. I'm done.
Thank you, Allison. Sue?
Yes, two things. One is cattails are a very important part of a pond ecosystem. Number one, I'd hate to see too many of those go. But my main question is, what is the difference between this proposal and what was happening from 2017 to the present? Are there any differences?
Yes, would you like to respond to that?
Well, the difference, no, it's basically the same type of treatment. Because there's a life cycle, and the stuff grows back eventually. So it is, I don't think it has not been every year, but it has been every other year, like I said, plus a spot treatment 1 year. So
I think the order expired, Sue. I think that's why they're coming with a new one.
So this re-ups, and how long will this order potentially last for? Are you
3 years.
requesting, so 3 years?
3 years.
Generally, yeah.
3 years. So to respond to Allison's point, it does, make sense either now or if we give it another 3 years to really think hard about other ways of potentially doing this. And I kind of agree with Sue and Allison about, I understand the invasive species, that's a no-brainer. The cattails and the water lilies are a different story. I guess as long as the water lilies don't take over the whole thing. So I think that the will of the commissioner of the commission seems to be to retain as much as possible cattails and water lilies. I'm not sure exactly how to put Deb, is there a way to actually specify that?
I don't know unless you know, we get photos or something of when they are. You
Right,
know what I mean?
because this is purely, this will happen. It hasn't happened yet. Like that, like they, I mean, they're starting to emerge, but we don't have a clear picture of how it's going to go.
So how are they treated? Water lilies.
Usually, the water lilies, usually we put the treatment right in the water. And there's a
Okay.
couple ways to do it, but usually it's liquid. And in some cases, we can use pellet. Pellet, we usually use when the water is flowing a little bit faster, which it is not here. So I'm 90% sure we would be doing liquid.
So
And
if
this
it
is-
enters the water, there is a way to kind of segregate it to a portion of it? Or is it just going to go throughout and just,
We release it over where we know the water lilies are. And we do that by doing a survey first before we treat it. But yes, it will mix, especially in a 9-acre pond, it will mix throughout the whole water eventually, but it dissipates quickly, has a half-life of about a day or so.
so there isn't really a feasible way to only treat a portion of it?
Actually, Deb, I'm hearing the opposite, just to a large degree. I almost hear the opposite. If it's dissipating within a day, 9-acre pond, if they're treating, I don't know, half or whatever, and as it's dissipating, it's losing its strength, and it's losing its strength anyway. So it almost sounds like I'm not going to, containment is not the right word, but project a certain area with maintain, which will increase the likelihood of maintaining the cattails and the water lilies and other parts of it. I hear that it's possible, is what I heard.
I was addressing the water lilies in this particular case. But yeah, I mean, certainly when you're doing the cattails, yeah, you put that directly on cattail.
Yeah, so I don't know. I forget how detailed I don't think the reports, at least the ones in the COC, really quantified it all, like what proportion of the pond was covered with certain kinds of things. So I think it would be useful to actually have that information. And Deb, can I also ask, had the Conservation Office been receiving these reports regularly, or did these just come all in at the end?
So the last reports that we had. Let's see. Was 2018. Was the last report that we got.
Okay, so we also need more consistency, and this is advice that we give to lots of applicants these days who aren't filing reports regularly, that before the COC is due, it's good to know what's actually happening. And it is a condition within the order that the Conservation Office regularly receive these. So if you can make a note of that, Sean, to make sure that they're regularly receiving these reports.
And we are supposed to be notified 3 days before any treatment.
Oh yeah, we do that. And we put signs up just to let people know. When
Mhm.
you say you want more reports, you talking about annual reports or what exactly?
Is that what's in the order?
That's usually what we propose, yeah.
Yeah,
we
so
do-
if
we
you
do an
did,
annual
if
re-
you did do treatments after 2018, we didn't get reports.
We usually only generate a report. I know we did one in 2020, so let me see if I can find the 2021 for you.
Okay. Um,
Okay. Good. Send that to the property owner. And, some conservation commissions want to see them too, so I say that you do, I will.
Well,
send it
yeah,
to
we
them.
like to, I mean, the
Yeah,
only
makes
way that
sense.
we can judge if the treatments are actually working is, getting feedback from you. So, I don't have a draft order ready for tonight anyways, Peter.
Okay,
So I'll look through the previous order and amend that, reflecting the comments that we've had tonight to have ready for the next meeting.
okay, fantastic. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I'm in Allison's camp. I mean, ideally, this becomes what it wants to be, but I think that's true of lots of water bodies in this town, including the one behind this building, or the building that Jeff's in. But be that as it may, the applicants are interested in maintaining this as a pond, and so we respect those wishes. But Allison, so do you see any way that I mean, you talked about hand pulling rather than poisoning?
I think it can be a combination. I mean, the duckweed and the algae, that's something else. And I know the chemicals say they don't harm fish, et cetera, but it just, it gets in the water table and the drinking water. I mean, it gets in the water table. So I would say if there could be a combination, just like, recognizing that leaving some of them provide some shade of the water. Part of the reason why this, besides it being a small pond and not very deep and open, is the shade helps. And these plants help shade the water and keep it cooler. So, and also pull nitrogen out when they're growing. I mean, I had a pond that I took care of, and in the springtime, it was on my land in Rhode Island, right by the ocean, actually, that my father created. And right by and the algae was horrible in duckweed in the early part of the season. And then when the cattails grew and the water lilies that I planted grew, and they didn't take over, by the middle of the summer, it was clear as beautiful because it pulled all the nitrogen out of the water. So, and also the frogs and everything just loved it. So you want to have kind of not just lawn and water. And I didn't hear that you want just lawn and water, but I think there are probably some people along the banks that want just lawn going right down to the water and nothing else. But I just like to have moderation and have a variety of habitat, which just makes common sense and scientific sense. That's all.
So Sean, we're going to be continuing this hearing, and if in the meantime you're able to reach out to the applicants to talk about potential alternatives and longer term solutions, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I was gonna say, it may be premature for me to ask that, but I mean, I could suggest to the client that the commission may be leaning towards 3-year approval, but they want something to change radically during that time. Whether it's other types of plants, allowing some cattails, et cetera, and that he may need to keep, come up with a plan. I know he needs to do something this summer at least, so.
Sure. Okay, so so Deb will work up the order for the next meeting. So I don't think there's much that you would need to come back with, but we'll continue this discussion perhaps. Before I continue, is there anyone in the audience who might have their hand up?
No, there's not.
Okay, very good.
All right.
So we
I
would.
do.
What's that, Sue?
I raised,
Oh, Sue, you wanted to talk?
yeah, I just have one question. Yeah, I did. I hope it came through that I raised my hand. The treatments say over the 3-year period, are they staggered? In other words,
Staggered how?
so are the algae and duckweed treated at one point? Say the first year, do you treat the algae and duckweed every single one of those 3 years?
Only if we see it. We continue to visit the pond, and then we treat it when we see it. Most often it takes one treatment. Sometimes we're able to treat the algae and the duckweed at the same time. The water lilies are almost always a separate treatment.
All right. Does that answer your question, Sue?
Yeah, actually, my tech just went off, but yeah, that I'm fine. I'm fine.
Okay, very good. So we'd be continuing this to next
May
meeting would
yeah.
be May 26th. But we're not asking him to file anything new as part of this. Except to get more information, I think, about aerators.
Got my list of questions here. Yeah, so I will
Yeah.
gather hopefully every answer to every one of those. So
Okay, fantastic.
If we could get the responses a week before the meeting, so a week from tonight would be
Okay.
good.
sounds good.
All right, thanks. So can I have a motion to continue to May 26th?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor, Stephen,
Aye.
Artie,
aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Peter, aye. So this will be continued and hopefully concluded May 26th. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care, Sean.
All right.
So Peter, we have an enforcement to discuss.
Yes.
That is why Gordon Russell is here. Because it has to do with his property, not his enforcement, but his property.
And this is not a hearing. This is a discussion of based on what we. Oh no, this is Brookside. This is brand new.
Yes, this is
Okay.
an enforcement.
All right.
So Gordon Russell is here. I don't know if he wants to speak to what has happened.
Gordon,
Can you describe what's happened?
He's on mute.
Gordon, can
Oh, there he is.
Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you now.
Yes. What has happened here is that a neighbor, 20 years neighbor at 44 Brookside, who abuts my property, has trespassed on it and has created a patio and so other planting areas and other walkways and things. And they have sold their house and have offered to remediate the area. And I checked with Ecotech and had John Rockwood come down. I think Deb went down to just look at whether it was within the 100-foot buffer zone, and they confirmed that it was. And so the message I got was that the Concom was going to issue an enforcement order, would provide guidelines for them to remediate. Sorry about my camera, but
So I have
here we go.
photos.
Yes,
took
let us. Yes, what's going on? The neighbor built on your land?
They didn't build per se. They trespassed and created a nice fire pit, and
So they encroached on your property.
that's correct. As a matter of fact, I had confronted the neighbor when I noticed it, but it was during COVID, and he wasn't receptive to my discussion about it, and really became kind of unwieldy. He was kind of wild, and then I learned that he had lost his job during COVID, and he was a computer programmer. This is just secondhand stuff that I learned. So I laid off. And then the house went on the market, and went to look at it, and I saw people looking at the house actually walking on my land. They were, and I said, well, whoa, this isn't good. So that's when I got in touch with Rockwood, and he went down and checked it out, because we want to remediate it, or they offered to remediate it, but I didn't know how to proceed. So that's why we're here.
Fantastic. Deb, so can you give us some visuals on this?
Yes, Clay can put up the visual. So I was contacted by John Rockwood Thursday last week about this. So I just met him out there. So this is the area, I guess, where there was a patio. From what John explained, they have removed the patio. That's the gravel remaining that was beneath the patio. If you want to do some more pictures, Clay, I'll kind of explain as we go along. So they had made a raised bed area for plantings, put in some stepping stones. Next one. You can see, so they put up the raised bed. So there is a kind of a wooden retaining area to keep the bed raised. John Rockwood, so that's the wetland in the back there, you can see. So this area is definitely in the 100-foot buffer zone. Next one. So they also have these piles of, one of them is kind of like a mulch wood chip material. And the one on the left appears to be mostly leaves. Okay, good. There's also pieces of kind of concrete. There's also, I don't know if I have a picture of it, but there's also areas where there's kind of like tree stumps, that type of thing. So that's some of the debris on the ground. Next one. Yeah, so there's just random debris in there, kind of, branches and stuff back there. Okay, next one. And so you can see that is the house, and right along that line is where the property line is. Ends at the end of their grass. And so that's where they came onto his property beyond that, and started doing these random things. That might be the last picture. Yep. So when I was out there, I discussed with John Rockwood, what steps he thought should be taken to restore the area. So he did send me an email that the following materials should be removed from 62 Brookside Road, the pea stone patio, any remaining slate, and any underlying fabric. So underneath the gravel, there is some fabric, which should make it easier to remove that. The raised soil beds, including soil, any supporting wood, and any underlying fabric should be removed. Brick, stone, and other edging to the areas. The wood chips that have been spread around the pea stone patio and planting bed should be removed. The soil piles near the fence. The stone and concrete pile located further down slope. Any man-made materials in the area, including but not limited to slate, bricks, concrete, and piping. Any cut logs under 4 feet in length, and any brush piles. He felt that the logs that were remaining over 4 feet could be distributed throughout the area for habitat value. And the leaf pile near the fence could be retained and spread over the area where the pea stone and raised beds are removed. He didn't think it was necessary to put any plantings in there. More than likely, the area is surrounded by ferns. So we're guessing that most likely that was kind of the vegetation that was in the area. So I sent a letter inviting the owners to the meeting tonight, but didn't get that out till Tuesday because I was only there at the end of the week. So Gordon did supply me with their emails. So I did email them earlier today, and apparently the homeowners are ill and could not attend tonight. So, I'm happy to put together an enforcement order stating, what we would like to have done, and sending it out to them and asking them to attend the next meeting. I don't think it's unstable in a way that anything is going to shift, towards the wetland at this point. It's pretty stable. So I don't think it's a problem if it goes a couple weeks. And then we could give them a deadline as far as restoring the area.
Okay, so are you saying we don't need to act tonight, except for agreeing that they're going to come to the next meeting?
So I'll draft an enforcement order and, send it to them based on John's comments, which seem to make sense. And ask them to attend the next meeting. And then you guys can ratify it at that time, or we can amend it if things have changed. And then I can issue it after the next meeting.
Okay, fantastic.
So,
Yeah, the legalities are interesting to me. So because it's not technically their property. So Gordon, you had to actually get John Rockwood out. And so because it's your property, from a legal standpoint, it's your thing, but they're the ones who did it. So
Right.
So they're really, ultimately, you would hold them responsible for cleaning this up, right? They're the ones who should be doing the things that Rockwood is suggesting.
Peter, it is a little fuzzy with all of the legal stuff, but yes, and I would ask that the commission hold them responsible for making the remediation happen, because they're the ones that trespassed and did this. But I'm the property owner, so that's why I'm here, because enforcement orders would go to the property owner and to the person who did the,
Yeah, it seems
work.
only fair. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've offered to pay for it, which is great. But I would ask that the commission look at including that in there. I mean, I don't know how you do that, but I'd just soon not be stuck with their bill.
That's for sure.
Furthermore, I would like to be the one to at least offer a contractor to do it. They can too. I don't mind that, but I know who I would use, and I've already alerted them, and they're going to come look at it. So that would give me the comfort to know that it was handled properly, because this company's done a lot of work for me over the years on the property. So that would be my concern.
Excellent, thank you. Other commissioners, questions or comments? Stephen?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works if we issue an order against a neighbor or a property owner that has nothing to do with this property. That's kind of strange, but
so I've reached out to DEP actually, just to run this by them, because it is odd. But I was talking with Clay about it earlier, and when Solitude, we had that enforcement with them, we had an enforcement go to the homeowner where the material was deposited, and also to Solitude. And we, fined both of them. Of course, in that case, the homeowner gave them permission to put the, debris on their property. So I don't know. That's why I reached out to DEP, because I'm not sure how to legally handle that.
I mean, we issue an enforcement order against the neighbor. The neighbor currently says, to hell with that, I'm not doing anything, and they sell the property. And now the new homeowner is stuck with an enforcement order on their property that has nothing to do with their property per se.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we should ask.
So is the
our own
property
town council.
sold already, Gordon?
No, it's not.
It's under agreement or something.
As far as I know, I don't know exactly, but I believe it's under agreement.
Mm-hmm. So if they did put the enforcement order against the deed, then the new owners would supposedly know about it.
The
When they went,
prospective buyer would, I would expect to know about it.
right,
But it also
Mhm.
gives them incentive to,
Yeah.
remediate.
Right.
mhm. But I don't think that we can put that in our enforcement, that the neighbor is required to pay for it and that Gordon gets to choose who does it. I think that's kind of beyond our purview. We're looking at protecting the resource area. You know,
Well, they've told me that they would pay for it, so I take them at their word.
right,
I do think, however, that the contractor that's chosen should be either approved by me or chosen by me, because I'm not going to be able to be there when they do whatever they're going to do. And what if they don't do it right? Then they create more of a problem.
Right.
I just don't want that to happen. I want this to be quick and easy and done.
Well,
Could it be-
our enforcement order is going to say what has to be done. Then since it's essentially, then it sounds like it's your choice of who does it. And then it's your agreement to your neighbor that it's being paid for. I'm trying to think of other situations where anything like this has ever come up. And I'm trying to think of a situation where, someone has, we've seen people dump things on town property, for example. We've seen that before, and we've issued some order to them to clean it up, but we're also the town to some, if you know what I mean. So it's to some degree we're acting in concert with the town. So I'm just trying to think of those situations. I think Debbie, you probably remember when they were. I don't remember what address they were, but we've definitely had people dump stuff on town property before.
mhm,
They've had to go clean it up. We've issued some enforcement orders against them to clean it up. I don't remember what they looked like. I don't remember if it was coming in a slightly different pathway to them to get it cleaned up, since it's not.
well, there was the one that I can't remember the address, but they allowed construction company or whatever to dump
The fence.
all of that fill over the hill behind their house and
Yeah.
also behind their neighbor's house. And it
Yeah.
went on to like National Grid property or something. It was kind of this whole big messy thing.
Yeah.
So we did send enforcement orders to all the parties involved in it. I mean, I can also reach out to town council,
Yeah.
see what our limitations are. So I can do that and, hopefully hear back from DEP.
Yeah.
And would that work for you, Gordon?
Yeah, just, yeah, it sounds like you've seen this before, and it sounds like, as Rockwood explained it to me, he said, you'll get an enforcement order and they'll get an enforcement order.
Mm-hmm.
And that seemed logical to me because I am the landowner. And then we take it from there.
Yeah, just as far as, you resolving it privately with them, or if we have any more,
But as already said, it will describe what needs to be done.
Yep.
So it's somewhat less important that whoever does it, as long as it's done as described.
Right. And we'll give a timeline, a reasonable timeline to have it done.
Okay.
So
Keeping in mind that you're getting reimbursed from them, I think is completely unrelated to us.
Understood.
So if you have this work done, which means it's met the order of conditions, which means that technically it comes off your deed, their deed, and it's still, so if they haven't reimbursed you at that point,
That's
That's a
separate
separate legal issue.
matter.
yeah, it's off our hands.
Understood.
Allison, do you have any thoughts, comments?
No, it's all been said.
Sue, you have your hand up.
I know I have my hand raised again. It seems to me that since the neighbor has violated our bylaw and within our jurisdiction, because it was within the 100-foot buffer.
Correct.
It just seems like an enforcement order would be directly to him right away.
Well, technically, what happens on your property, you know, is your responsibility. So that's why it kind of goes to both parties.
Okay. Town council sounds like a good idea.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'll reach out to him tomorrow. I know he's been busy with town meeting and various things, so hopefully I'll hear back from him.
All right,
And-
so we're hopeful that we'll be able to talk to the neighbors next meeting, see what's going on there, and then the enforcement Deb will have ready for us to ratify, but as far as the meeting tonight, I think we understand the situation, and we're going to proceed forward, I guess. So there's no other action we need to take, right?
No,
So, Gordon, I'm sorry this happened to you. We'll keep talking.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm
Thank you.
sorry.
All right. So we have some COCs left.
we do. We also Artie Rappy is here.
Oh, is that for the planting plan, the restoration plan?
So this is for 182 and 190 Edgewater.
Oh, Edgewater. Okay.
Yeah,
This is it's a minor modification. Okay.
it is. We didn't technically get the paperwork, you know, in a timely manner. So it was kind of a judgment call whether to hear it tonight, but I think that the modifications are minor. So as far as you guys needing to review it a week ahead of time, I don't necessarily think that's necessary.
Okay. So the commission will
It's up
decide
to you if
whether they
yeah.
heard it
Exactly.
sufficiently enough. So I'm going to open the hearing. 182 and 190 Edgewater Drive, DEP file number 234853, request for minor modification. Artie, you've already shared your screen,
Yes.
so take us through it.
RD Cheney Engineering representing the owner. Sorry for the miscommunication. The reason why we are in front of you is because we asked permission to build a tennis court and a swimming pool. The work is completed. We were going to request for a certificate of compliance, but because of the two deviations, Deb recommended that we come in front of you for a minor modification. And the deviations are the following. As you can see here in red, we are showing a fence that goes around this swimming pool. The reason why we ended up having to put a fence in there is at the request of the building department. The pool was designed so that it didn't need a fence. After the pool was constructed, there was difference of opinions. And at the end of the day, building department said, you know what, put a fence there for pool, for safety, that's what you gotta do it. So it's a pool fence, it's an aluminum fence is there. We met with Deb on site, she has seen it. So this is one modification that we are asking, that because we were forced from the building department to install a fence, the fence is installed. So that is one minor modification. The other minor modification is we've got a shed on the side of the new tennis court. So what's happening is that after the work was done, thinking that they were outside the 200-foot buffer and they were so far from the river, they put a shed 12 by 10 that is sitting on crushed stone, and they just have blocks that the shed is sitting on. There is no foundation, no nothing. So it's a movable thing. However, it happens to be that is inside the floodplain, so you've got the floodplain line in here. Deb did not feel that this should be something that we want to address on a certificate of compliance. We wanted to see if you guys would be kind enough to grant us the minor modification. As far as flood storage that this shed is taking off, it's minimal because when we did the calculations for the tennis court, we lowered all this area and we were filling 988 cubic feet and we provided 3,057 cubic feet additional storage. So we feel that this is so small that the commission should approve it. It's our intention to come on the next meeting. If it is that the commission feels that they could grant us the minor modification tonight, that's great. Otherwise, we would like to come on the next meeting for both the minor modification and the certificate of compliance at the same time. Whatever works, however the commission feels that is the right way to do it.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks, Artie. All right, so so Deb, any other comments?
No, I think usually with pools, you end up putting a fence around them and obviously that's a safety requirement. I think it's chain link, right, Artie?
It's aluminum fence. The logic was that this is like an infinity pool, and it was going to, it has like a catch pool in front of it, and the landscape architect who designed it, he checked with the building department, and the idea was because the wall is more than 4 feet, the kids will not have a possibility to climb up. However, when they constructed the pool, the catch pool got built not 7 feet, but got built 2.5 feet shorter. So one of the inspectors that went to inspect the pool concluded that that wasn't safe enough. Nice job on thinking it, but ain't flying, we won the fence. So as you can imagine, no one was happy, but they had to do it. So it's an aluminum fence. It's, it's not post and rail, but I think it looks nice.
All right.
It's one of those things that they had to do it if they wanted to use the pool.
Understood. Thanks, Artie. I'll go around commissioners, see if they have any comments. Stephen?
The only comment I think maybe what Deb was getting at is there room under the fence for wildlife to get under there?
Oh, okay, hold on.
They have left enough room for the wildlife, but at the same time, per building code, you cannot have more than 3 inch. I believe is like a 3-inch gap that you can't, or 4 inch. Okay, so I believe there is enough room for wildlife to go underneath it. It's just that they cannot go too high because of the building code.
Deborah, Clay, have you seen that out there?
I'm looking, we met out there a bit ago, so I was just looking to see if I had any pictures of it. But it's lawn right up to it.
That's right. It's lawn on both sides.
Yeah, so I don't know how much usage it would get from wildlife anyways.
No, I agree, but
Yeah, I understand, but I assume that safety is gonna trump the gap at the bottom.
sure, no more questions.
Artie?
All I can say is Artie Rappy.
Actually, I do have I have a picture.
Oh, here we go.
I'm going to send it to Clay. And he will do magic and make it appear before you. Tell me when you get it, Clay.
I will let you know.
Okay. All right, so yeah, it's kind of hard to describe, but it's a metal fence, but it's not a solid fence. It's, you know what I mean?
Tickets.
We'll provide the pictures on the
Can you
next
see?
meeting.
Can you see the fence?
A little bit, yeah. It's fine. It's not that important, I guess. Thank you.
All
So
right,
there are spaces between the rails.
Perfect.
in the space under the rails.
I'm sorry, Artie, we interrupted you.
That's okay. All I was gonna say was Artie Rappy. So at some point you won't, we won't be sitting here going, which Artie is he talking about?
I know, sad moment. There'll only be one Artie.
Artie, there's always
It's
only
close
there's
enough,
always
you
only
know?
one Artie. There's always only one Artie. Anyway, yeah, no, it was, I have no questions. I'm perfectly fine with the stormwater issue and the fact that things happen sometimes. There's plenty of stormwater. Steve asked a question about the fence. I'm good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Allison?
No, no questions, just maybe where the infinity view was, they could have done glass, really.
Well, again.
Yeah, well. Sue?
No comment.
No comments. Okay, very good. So, how do people feel? We should issue the minor mod? I guess everyone seems to be in agreement, so I'll take a motion.
Move that we issue the minor modification for, I forget the address, Edgewater Drive,
182, 190.
182 to 190 Edgewater Drive.
Second.
All in favor, Stephen,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Peter, I. All right, so you have your minor modification, and we'll see you next meeting, I guess, for the COC.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Take care, RD.
That's right, I
Hey,
should
Sue,
enunciate.
Your hand is still raised, Sue.
I know, I'm not, I know how to get rid of it.
You raise hand again, I think. Just toggles it off.
Lower hand.
Yep,
Ah,
Yep.
good.
It works.
works.
All right, so we
Alright.
have a couple other COCs.
Yep, 1357 Great Plain Ave. They had already received a partial. It was just for the plantings.
All right, so I'll open that up. 1357 Great Plain Ave, DEP file number 234819. Request for certificate of compliance. And as you said, this was just waiting on the plant monitoring.
Yes.
And that was good.
So, yeah, Clay has pictures if you're interested. But everything looked really good. Everything was healthy, as you can see. So I think there's like 100% survival. And he actually added 3 nice river birch that weren't part of the planting.
Cool, because they had to take down a few trees, and then these are the replacements for those. And
Yeah.
they're
So
doing
they
well.
had 10 shrubs along the wall there. And then they added the river birch in addition to that. So I recommend a COC.
Very good. Commissioners, Steve, do you have any comments?
No comment.
Artie,
No comment.
Allison,
Amen.
Sue?
Looks beautiful.
Can I have a motion to issue this certificate?
I move that we issue the certificate of compliance for 1857 Great Plain Ave.
Second.
Actually, I think it's 1357. Is that right?
1357, thank you.
All in favor, Stephen,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Peter, I. So we'll issue that COC. And then finally, Kendrick Street, 140 Kendrick Street, open that one up. DEP file number 234851. Another request for certificate of compliance. And this is that building near the pond, near Cutler Pond.
Yes. Yep, this is the building. They recently redid kind of the whole plaza right there where the DCR path separates the building from Cutler Pond itself. The work that they did within buffer zone was pretty minimal. It was primarily consisted of natural vegetation immediately abutting Cutler Pond, then the DCR, and then open lawn to patio hardscaping in the buildings. There were a couple of trees that were proposed to have tree protection. None of the trees came down. There was one small modification to one of the walkways, but it was the difference of a couple feet within existing lawn. Didn't change any of the larger vegetation. Otherwise, there was no proposed removal of plant species. I believe the landscaping on that side of the building was pretty minimal. Most of their more robust plantings were outside of our jurisdiction. They did install the stormwater basins and got an engineer to sign off on that as required. But again, all of that was outside of our jurisdiction. So staff recommends a full issuance. It really was a pretty minor project with the wetlands.
Very good. I'll go around commissioners. Stephen, do you have any questions, comments?
No comments.
Artie,
No comments.
Allison,
No comment.
Sue?
No comment.
Peter, no comment. So can I have a motion to issue the certificate?
I move to issue a certificate for
140 Kendrick Street.
140 Kendrick Street. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, Stephen,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Peter, aye. So we'll issue that as well. And then I know we still need to look at the order, but was there anything else? You had mailed us for the enforcement from last meeting,
Yeah.
some restoration plan.
I can pull that up in just a moment. So we received a draft of their proposed restoration for 1297 Central Avenue. And let me just go ahead and share that. So essentially, they've gone out and they've using the as-built plan from the previous filing for this site. They've gone and identified the areas of disturbance, which they've marked out in this black line. They've identified the property line, which is the red line that comes down this way. And they proposed to replant in segments, essentially. So this shaded green area, they're proposing a conservation seed mix. This red area, they're proposing a wetland conservation seed mix kind of combination. And then straight wetland seed mix for this orange. It's kind of hard to distinguish the red from the orange on this due to the shading, but that line runs right about here for wetland versus wetland and conservation mixed. They've also proposed woody plantings to go along the wetland line. And again, this is using that previous as-built plan. So one of the things that I think staff would recommend or would like to do is go out on site with an auger and just confirm that the wetland soils that we can identify beneath the disturbance still match up with that. I would imagine there has not been a great amount of change in that wetland line, but again, where we have disturbance going potentially into the wetlands, I think it would be good to be able to just pull up some of the samples and say, okay, this is a little bit further, this is a little closer, and either make amendments to those, those seeding areas as appropriate, or at least identify where we don't want maybe some of these plants to go on the inside of the wetland versus just on the outside, or et cetera. The other thing is that in the enforcement, they will have to reset the bounds. Originally, their bounds from the last filing had them place them on here. I only see two. I believe on the original as-built, there was 4 of them spread out. But what was discussed at the last meeting is to have the bounds going across the lower tier of the retaining wall, so that it's very clear and they cannot be removed, at least not without pulling them up off of the retaining wall. And these were the proposed planting species, which is a combination of silky dogwood, high bush blueberry, and sweet pepper bush, along with the seed mixes I believe that they were going to get from New England Wetland Plant, New England Wetland Plant Inc.
All right, so is this another situation where there was encroachment and we have two property owners involved in this enforcement?
There was a small amount of encroachment potentially. We have not issued anything to the neighboring property. Primarily all of the majority of what has been out there and the level of disturbance has been limited as far as we can tell to the one side. You can see here that the red line is that property line based on that as-built. They will have to do a couple plantings just across the property line, and their area of disturbance have encroached a bit, especially kind of towards Central Ave here, towards this side of the property line. There may have been some disturbances across that line, but for the most part, it looks like most of those disturbances are on the bulk of 1297.
Very good. And the other property owner has already sort of shown his wish to have this restored. So that
Yeah.
shouldn't be an issue.
We will get confirmation from him before
Okay.
having the applicant install on his property as well. I guess this was more just to bring this before you. The next milestone in their enforcement is to come back before the commission at the
Got
next meeting on the 26th. In this case, we just wanted to catch any red flags or comments because we're interested in trying to get as much of the seeding done to stabilize the site now while we can. Unfortunately, this month it's been relatively dry for May, and we're approaching the end of any kind of planting season now. So if there aren't major issues expressed tonight, then we'll likely have them move forward at least with some of the seeding if we can feasibly get it done, and then bring back for any additional comments on the 26th.
Got it. And we'll definitely have a chance to talk with the property owners at that date.
That's our anticipation. If not with the property owners, then again with their consultants.
Okay.
Just to reiterate, they are, I think, on a 12-hour difference
Great.
because they are out of the country. So it's a little difficult to coordinate what I would imagine a Friday morning early, 7 a.m. early morning.
Indeed. Okay, very good. So Clay is interested in any comments about the current plan so that he can revise before the next meeting. Stephen, any thoughts?
No comments.
Artie?
No comments.
Allison?
No comments.
Sue?
Any fine will be determined later on.
Yeah, I think we're interested in hearing what they have to say. So we'll give them a
Okay.
chance to explain themselves. And then I have no comment either. So it looks like, I mean, yeah, this looks perfectly fine to me.
Okay, I will keep the process forward with them, and then, as mentioned, their next milestone will be back on the 26th.
And I'll try to go out maybe Monday and just check the wetland line.
Right.
So
So we just need to make sure that we know exactly where that is.
yeah.
All right. Perfect.
One other item that Artie had brought up. So he's our CPC
Representative.
Thank you. I'm very tired. So we will need to appoint a new person for that role. And as I mentioned, I think most of you are here. Bill is also stepping down from the commission. So Artie, this is his last meeting, and Bill, may have 1 or 2 meetings left. Peter, I know that you offered to be on the Trails Committee once we get that going again. So
And I can share what on the CPC. So,
right ahead.
I mean, on the CPC, I mean, the fact that we're a representative of the Conservation Commission, that by itself isn't a big connection between what's going on. It's just a matter of different committees in the town have representatives, so we make sure we have enough people on the CPC committee itself, or CPA committee itself. So what we do is we don't really have much of anything going on during the summertime, although this summer there might be a little, I use the word for training or education as far as what the CPC really means, what the different funds are. So come the fall, what will happen is there'll be some proposals brought to us from different entities. Some of them will come from the town. Some of them will come from different organizations within the town. For example, this last time, the Needham Community Farm brought a proposal to ask for $200,000 so they could build some raised beds to then lease out or rent out every year. So in any case, so in the fall, proposals will come to us. Then when we first get those, we have, we go through an understanding of what they are. We go through an understanding is, do they meet the criteria of, do they fall into historical preservation, housing, or a housing bucket, or an open space bucket. The open space can literally consist of recreation and also literally open space or land. Do they fall into those three buckets? And then from there, what we do is we start through the fall going into the winter time, we start vetting each project. So we'll choose within that committee, we'll choose 1 or 2 people will take on a project to start to vet it. As far as what are all the pros and cons? What are all the questions we still have related to this project? Questions we have are questions we think people are going to ask. These we have to finish determining, actually at this point, we've kind of finished determining that they meet the criteria, that we can fund them, but we haven't determined yet if we're going to fund them. Then we have to determine if we are in fact going to fund them, then how much we are going to fund them out of the requested amount. Then once we go through that whole process, we'll vote on it. And then at this point, we're voting on, we're approaching the March-April time period of finally giving a final vote. And then at that point, when we have the final vote, usually the people that have been the representative of that particular request will then just put a video recording together, or the past couple of years been video recording. Then we'll put our own little presentation together, which will mostly consist of the proponent's presentation, and then for town meeting. This town meeting then actually has to vote on the money, allowing the money to be used from the CPC to fund these projects. So it's actually a pretty cool thing. I've been on it now a number of years. I don't know if it's 6 or 7 years. So I've been on it for a long time now. Much longer, in some ways, much longer than people usually stay on it, because usually they cycle through. So it's a pretty cool thing to do. There isn't a lot of work until we really start hitting the late winter, heading towards the springtime period. Then we start meeting more often. Before then, it's meeting like once a month. Then at some point, we'll start meeting a couple of times a month, and it's usually on a Wednesday night. But it's a nice way to learn other aspects of what else is going on in town. And in case of, for example, this last session, there was that article for funding for the boat launch or boat ramp at Charles River. Now, I will admit on that one, I was wearing both hats were coming into play. Does it meet the criteria, for example, of funding from the CPC? Yeah, it meets the criteria. But at some point, it was pretty clear that the Conservation Commission wasn't looking too favorably upon it. And then at some point, it was clear that the town even pulled it. So we just, we weren't going to fund something we were never going to fund something which had not been approved by the Conservation Commission. I think that's what was coming out of our meetings. At least I would never be in favor of that. Then eventually it just got pulled. Anyway, it's a nice thing to do. It's good to have the representation from the Conservation Commission, because I guarantee that if the article wasn't pulled, the initial inclination seemed to be, I don't want to put words in other people's mouths, but the initial inclination was to be favorable of a boat launch. But by having representative of the Conservation Commission there, it became very clear that it was not being brought to us in what we thought was the correct order, and we weren't looking too favorably upon. So it's useful having representation there. So anyway, so we're going to need someone for that. We're going to need someone for that. So hopefully someone will step up for that and fill it. You know, you could fill it for 2 years, 3 years, 1 year. It's usually best more than 1 year because you have to get your feet wet and understand what's going on. So 3 years is a good minimum to have to be on the CPC. And I've been vice chair of that for a number of years at this point. So anyway, that's it. That's what it's all about.
We're gonna miss party.
I know, I missed you guys too. When I heard Bill was stepping down, I was like, well, geez, maybe I should stick around a few more meetings. Sounds like he's going to stick around a few more meetings, so I guess I'm good.
Yeah, do we have any like party favors, like whistles we can blow or confetti?
Peter, it looked like you were smoking a joint there.
Well, luckily I have the blur on, so Artie.
I'm sorry, buddy. Just had a little token going on.
Can't see in the background. I would weigh in.
This is being recorded, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. I did the CPC for a couple of years, and I will say that you do get a lot of FaceTime with all the leaders of the town from all the different departments who are coming to beg the CPC for money. And you get to be on TV during town meeting. That's fun. So I don't know if those are all incentives for you.
And was Janet on it before you were?
Janet was on before me. I succeeded her,
you.
and then Artie was after me. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And then.
So what's your timeline so are you done with CPC now, Artie?
Well, the CPC doesn't have anything going on right now anyway. The only thing coming up at some point, maybe over the summertime, is I use the word training a little. I think just a little bit of an educational aspect of what it's all about, or what it means throughout the state and within our town.
So we may have a little time to see who fills the positions.
You definitely have some time, but I think come fall, you definitely want someone come fall.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Can we make it a precondition?
We could.
We can pitch them.
Oh man! Oh, that's like saying who isn't here. That's like saying who isn't here gets chosen for all the things other people don't want to do.
Exactly.
Oh man. It may be best if it's someone that has been sitting on something for a while, but that's just me.
We'll see how it goes.
All right. What else? Oh, so we need to look at that order and approve it.
Be short and sweet.
And so there was some language that we needed to talk about that, right?
Yeah, so for this order of conditions, this is Exhibit A. I've put the limitations and the scope of the project in writing so that it's pretty clear that there's no removal of non-invasive vegetation. There's not intended to be any soil disturbance outside of laying the landscape stone. That removal of debris will have will avoid impacts to the banks, that they're not just going to go in there and start pulling things out without consideration to how they're moving sediments about. A lot of the stock conditions that are relevant remained. There's quite a few of them that have been removed, such as erosion controls, most of the things requiring erosion controls, because in this case, there weren't any proposed erosion controls due to the lack of soil disturbance. If their plans change and they needed to put in erosion control, I believe there's still the right for us to ask for that, but they would also have to come back for a minor mod or an amended order, because that would totally change the scope of their work anyway. The questionable things that I had marked, one of the things that we discussed at the last meeting was having staff on site for the commencement of work. both to review the limit of work, not just with the Eagle Scout applicant with Rafe, but also with everybody else that's going to be out there working, so that there's a pretty clear consensus that they're not to be clearing further than what is intended, or having any impacts within the bordering vegetative wetland alongside the river. The other purpose of that is to go through a quick training with them and actually provide them an educational experience as to how to identify some of these plants. We could do some of the native identification, but certainly I want to make them capable and aware of how to identify the predominant invasives there, which are the Japanese knotweed, the Asiatic bittersweet, and the burning bush, all of which I expect that hopefully they'll get excited to go home and start removing them from their own properties. If we can plant it in a student's mind, just one or two of them, and that's more reach than we've had before. So that's that first highlighted. The next highlighted is that we're not going to require an as-built plan in the case of this, the scope of work. I think that the WPA Form 8A, which is the required thing, as well as photos and a section with conservation staff or the designee, would be adequate for closing that out. And then in the red, I've highlighted a stock condition that we usually use, which is the ongoing condition that there's a presumption that any future work will come back before us. And the reason why I highlighted this in red is because this deed already has at least one of these order of conditions with that stock condition in it. For a project like this, and to tie it to a project like this, this stock condition talks about mowing, removal of materials, and the scope of work that's been requested here doesn't even really have a footprint into any of those. So I would propose we remove that last stock condition, since it is already recorded through other previous orders of conditions.
All right, very good. Any thoughts from the commissioners about this? Stephen?
No comments.
Artie?
No comment.
Allison?
Comment.
Sue?
It sounds good. No comment.
All right, yeah, I read through it, looks good. I think we all agree that the last one, the 19, the one in red, should be removed. I guess so.
Yes.
So I will take a motion to issue this order.
I move that we issue the order of conditions for 1191 Greendale Ave.
Second.
All in favor, Stephen?
Aye.
Artie?
Aye.
Allison?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Peter? Aye. All right, so that work is done, and we'll need to sign things.
Yeah, so I
how
am
does that
going to
work?
have them. I'm gonna have them tomorrow in Janet's little porch in front of her house, since her garage is gone.
Her
Um,
garage is,
Huh?
her garage is gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Garage is gone. But she said that, her breezeway kind of porch thing in the front is always open.
Okay.
So I'll put her.
Can I just ask, is there parking there? Because I know the construction crews are sort of hogging all the space around the. So that's my only issue.
Actually, why can't we just put them back at the piece? The only reason they weren't there is it was basically locked at one point. When it was put it back there.
Wow, that's like your genius parting thought.
Yes, exactly.
So, I'm gonna be here all day tomorrow. And actually, I'm here Monday too, if people want to come in and sign.
That would be easier parking.
It would be.
So I'm sorry, what are your hours tomorrow?
So I should have the signature sheets ready. I would probably say by like 10:30. So I'll be here 10:30 to 5 and then 8:30 to 5 Monday. So I know our scout wants to get going on his project, so the sooner we can do it, the better.
I won't sign that, right? Because
What?
I don't sign that one. I was absent the last meeting. the Eagle Scout, the St. Seb's, the Greendale Ave. order
Well,
of
Clay
conditions.
got some information on how that works.
I believe the last time this came up with DEP, which might have been last year, the advice they gave us is that the signature should be of the people who were at the meeting when the motion was made, when it was issued. So you can sign it because you were here tonight when it was issued.
Okay,
Janet and Bill should not sign that one.
okay.
All right.
It would
I
be a-
can put stickies on them saying who should sign what. So
Thanks.
it's
Thank you.
All right, perfect.
right. So maybe just shoot me an email or something if you think you're gonna come in tomorrow, and I'll make sure I'm around. And Peter, I'll send you an email tomorrow about the bird walk so that we can coordinate that and get that out.
Very good.
All right.
All right, so
Thank you.
Artie, I guess this is our parting. I mean, we'll see you.
See you around.
We'll see you around.
I will miss
You're
your
at the-
tropical decor
Yeah.
for
I
one.
still
Someone
see your
else has
si-
to
I
come
still
up
see
with
your
the
signs
background.
around, Artie.
That's true.
If we don't see you, I see your name.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's been a long time. So
Yeah,
I've
thank you,
been with
Artie.
Tony for a long time. So yeah, it's been a wonderful learning experience. It really does. It helps. It helps quite a bit. As I said, being CPC, being on the Conservation Commission, it's really it gives an awful lot of appreciation for what we do here in town, and all us volunteers do here in town, and an appreciation for all the protection of the wetland. And I think we've been doing a pretty damn good job as far as
Mm-hmm.
making sure that we kind of protect our resources and what it's all about. So
Yeah.
I've been appreciative of the time.
We're looking forward to your tree policy that you.
Yeah, well,
Right.
yeah. The combination of the planning board and the select board, we better get something going on that one. I'll tell you that much. An awful lot of people want them. Yeah, they really do. An awful lot of people want them. So something should be coming up, hopefully for a vote next spring. We'll see what happens.
Awesome.
But I hope it comes up. It really does. So thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
Sounds good.
So
Thank you.
now, Stephen, I know you're anxious to make the motion to adjourn, but I'd like to have one. I'll make, you can do the second. I'll make the motion to adjourn. So I make a motion to adjourn, and then Stephen.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Don't forget to
you.
sign.
See you around.
Bye.
Bye, guys. We'll see you around. Bye, gang.
Bye. Bye, Artie.